Hello and welcome back to Get Decked, the video series where I build budget Magic the Gathering decks for your casual games nights and to introduce friends or family members to the game. People seem to really enjoy the first 10 of these that I did, so which I'm really grateful for because I really liked making those videos. So here I am, I'm back making some more of these, and we're not going to do a full set of like 10 this time. I think we're just going to do 5, and that's going to bridge the gap between the precons we've just looked at and the precons we got coming up, which is going to be the dual deck. So just a little extra content to tide you over until those videos are ready. So yeah, we're just going to carry on with these Get Decks. As I say, I do really enjoy making them, and I hope you enjoy the next few that are coming up. So here we are, episode 11. We're going to look at the deck I've put together called Dark Skies, which is a blue and black deck, as you can probably guess. The theme and strategy of the deck from the name. So before we look at the deck list, let's remind ourselves of the rules of Get Decked. So I have refined these very slightly from the first 10 videos that I did. So the decks are 60 cards, are designed for 1v1 games. We don't have any format restrictions. We mostly aim to build with like commons and uncommons, or no cards that cost more than $2 at time recording. This is just kind of keep the kind of casual budget kitchen table feel, so it's kind of accessible for like new players, or like people who don't want to spend as much money on the hobby. I mean, obviously you're proxying, then do whatever you want, but yeah, that's kind of the goal I set myself there, to keep it cheap. We limit ourselves to 12 different non-land cards, so basically like 12 playsets of 3. I think this is like a really good compromise of like variety and consistency in the deck. We have sort of like strong themes, low to mid complexity, so it's accessible for like newer, inexperienced, like more casual players, and they just pick it up and like they can pick up the deck strategy really easily and just start playing it and sort of understand what's going on with it. And the final thing, just because it's a casual deck doesn't mean it has to be weak or bad. So yeah, let's dive in. Let's look at the deck list. So we've got 24 creatures, 4 sorceries, 6 instants, 2 enchantments, and 24 land. We've got a mana curve off to the side there. So yeah, let's dive in and start looking at the deck's contents. So first we have to ask ourselves how we're winning. How's the deck trying to win? Well, it's with big flyers, basically, and not just big flyers. It's flyers of all shapes and sizes. But these are our big ones here. So this kind of choice is like a bit arbitrary. You could generally pick any kind of like big blue, black, or like artifact flyers that you wanted. I went with these 3 just because I thought they're cool, and they all sort of like do something a little bit different, which I thought was kind of fun. So Drana is 5 mana for a 4/4 flyer. She's a legendary vampire shaman, and she's got this ability where you can pay X and double black to give a creature -0/-X until end turn. And Drana gets +X +0 to end turn. So really nice like late game mana sink, and she's just kind of like repeatable creature kill while also buffing herself up, which I think is just like really good. She's just a really big threat in the air. She can do that. Nightmare Shepherd I thought was just kind of cool as well. So it's like 4 mana for a 4/4 flyer. Whenever a non-token creature you control dies, you can exile it, and then you make a token that's a copy of it, except it's a 1/1 nightmare instead, which I thought that's just like a fun, unique effect. So yeah, include that, and also we have got a few ETB effects in the deck which can benefit from this. You can probably like double dip on those, like Sphinx Mindbreaker. So 5 and double blue just for a 6/6 flyer. When it enters the battlefield, each opponent mills 10, which is potentially a a backup win condition, I suppose, if you could find ways of like recurring this and replaying it. But yeah, it's just there just to come down, be a big 6/6 flyer, and make someone mill 10. But yeah, so this is kind of like the loosest part of the deck. Like you could replace with any kind of like your favorite big flying creatures. And then we'll get into like the other bits of it, like these kind of like the smaller utility flyers. So we've got 3 Night Veil Predators, double blue, double black for 3/3 flying death touch hexproof. So really just a complete nightmare to deal with. Like it can't be directly targeted. It's got evasion, and even when it gets through, people are reluctant to block it because it's got death touch. So it also makes like a good blocker. So yeah, I thought this was like a really nice card to include. We've got 3 Gravelighter, so 2 and a black for a 2/2 flying. So it's basically like a black Windrake. And when it enters the battlefield, you draw a card if a creature's died this turn. Otherwise, each player sacrifices a creature. So I really like this. This essentially has 2 modes. So if you play it, potentially after combat when like you've killed some stuff, then or then you get to draw a card, which is nice. Otherwise, it's like a little bit of removal. It could sacrifice itself if necessary. So I just thought it was really nice, like multifunctional card there. Really nice to include. And then we need like a cheap flyer. So we've got 4 Battlefly Swarms. So 1 black mana for a 1/1 with flying, and you spend 1 black to give it Death Touch until end of turn. So like the Night Veil Predator, yeah, like a small creature with Death Touch is always like such a good deterrent, because like people don't want to attack into it, people don't want to block it, because they don't want to lose like a real creature to like just a 1/1 with Death Touch. So yeah, I thought this would be a nice early game cheap creature to play. So now we're going to talk about what helps us win. So this is stuff that's basically like supports the win condition. So this is stuff like buffs or card draw or anything like that. So we'll get into that. So we've got 4 Tide Skimmers. So 3 in a blue for a 2/3 with flying. Whenever you attack with 2 or more creatures with flying, you draw a card. So having 4 of these, and obviously every creature in the deck has flying. Yeah, it's just it's reliable, repeatable card draw, which just means we draw into more things, like more options, and can kind of we've always got gas in our hand basically. And if you got multiples of these out, then you're just drawing even more cards, and it's just a good time all round. We've got 4 Warden of Evil could not include this, I suppose. So 2 in the blue for a 2/2 with flying. Creature spells with flying you cast cost 1 less to cast, which is great. I love these types of blue creatures that like do cost reduction on certain types of spells. Yeah, this is absolute shoe in to include, I think, just to make some of those bigger flyers just cheaper to cast. And then we've got 2 Favourable Winds, which is a really nice cheap enchantment comes down. Gives all our flying creatures +1/+1. I didn't want to go like too many on these, because I wanted kind of more stuff with flying rather than these Favourable Winds. But you could always like fudge the ratio around if you want. Like you maybe do like 3 Tide Skimmers and 3 Favourable Winds maybe. But I definitely think we've got to have 4 Warden of Evil because it's great. So then we talk about what stops them winning. So this is stuff that we can do to mess around with our opponent's stuff. So this is stuff like removal or counter spells, anything like that. So we've got 4 Gust of Wind. So 3 in the blue. It costs 2 less to cast if you control a creature with flying, which is, say, like pretty much every creature in the deck. You get to bounce a non-land permanent, and you get to draw a card. So getting this off for only 2 mana, I think, is really fantastic. At 4, it's not terrible. It's at sorcery speed. That is the one thing, though, I suppose. But so sorcery speed bounce is not ideal, but when it's only like 2 mana and it's like any non-land permanent and you get to draw a card of it, I think that's basically okay. We've got 3 Lofty Denials, 1 in the blue. You counter target spell unless it's control pays 1, but if you control a creature with flying, again, not difficult to do. It gets countered unless they pay 4 instead. So if you've got a creature with flying out, it's basically a better mana leak. So not a hard counter. So there is the potential late game that like this still doesn't counter what they're casting, but it's still good. I just maybe went a bit too hard on like the these cards that synergize with stuff with flying. Again, if you wanted, you could put like just a different like hard counter in here, something like just regular counter spell or something. And then we've got 3 Defenestrate, and I'm fully aware there are definitely better black removal spells that could be here, but like we're playing a deck full of flyers, like I've got to take this. It's like the fun thematic pick, right? So 2 in a black, and it just destroys a target creature that doesn't have flying, which is like it's just really fun. And I mean that's ultimately what these decks are about, is just being like really fun and kind of silly and like not too competitive. I couldn't not like include this as a removal spell, but I say there are definitely better options out there. I just put this to like it's like the meme pick essentially to have Defenestrate. So then we're also going to look at the mana base. So this isn't something I really touched on in the first 10 videos, but I thought like it's still important to talk about, just to show off like what we're working with, show off every card in the deck. So 4 Dismal Backwaters, it's just the blue-black Gainland. Again, you could easily upgrade this into like Temple of the blue-black Temple, or some other cheap rare dual land if you wanted to, and then 11 Islands and 9 Swamps. So we also like to talk about in this series like what stops us winning. So this is just like weaknesses we've got in the deck that we need to sort of be aware of. So in this one, the weaknesses I identify is like we've got a pretty hungry mana curve. I suppose it's because we are playing like essentially like blue-black control in a way. We're kind of slow, kind of grindy. So we do have a bit of a hungry mana curve. Even with Warden of Evil helping us out and like making some of the flying creatures like a bit cheaper, it's still possible there that like early turns might not have that much to do, and you might be like a little slow, getting off the starting line. But as the game goes on, like you'll just have more stuff to do. Like it's a deck that wants a kind of a longer game, so you can kind of just win in the air with a bunch of flyers. We also don't have any like sweeps in here as well. So if you are playing against a deck that like just goes wide, makes like a bunch of tokens or something like that, haven't really got a reliable way of killing off a bunch of stuff. And again, that's like a change you could make. Like you could maybe swatch it, side. If you want, if you're playing, I know it's like casual format, but like if you're playing with sideboards and stuff, you could like swap in sweepers and stuff like that. But those are the two like main weaknesses I thought of the deck really. So I'd love to know what you think of this deck. If you got any thoughts or comments, stick a comment down below. If there's any changes you would make to this, do you like this kind of twist on? Because traditionally we see, blue-white skies. So I'd like to know what you think of blue-black skies. And is that something you've considered before? If you've played it before, any comments you can think of, stick them down below. I'll give those a read. But I'll be back next time with another Get Decked video. So I hope you'll turn up for that to watch that. But until then, thanks for watching and listening, and have a great day.